Hello, good people. Welcome to another board game review video. You're watching Demented Robot Games YouTube channel dedicated to modern board and card games. My name is Boris, and as always, I'm here to make a board game review. Today, I want to show you the game called Ghost Stories. Now, let me tell you, this is one very unusual game. First of all, it has very unusual artwork, which personally I love, but it's a matter of taste. It also has a very unusual theme. So this game is a little bit freaky, if I can use that expression. When I say freaky, it's actually a compliment coming from me, mind you, okay? So, Ghost Stories, I'm very excited about reviewing this game because it's definitely a very unusual game and an exciting one. So I'm excited about reviewing it as well as playing it. So, Ghost Stories, 1 to 4 player cooperative tower defense game designed by Repos Productions, released by Repos Productions, designed by Mr. Antoine Bauza, a renowned board game designer. I love his games. This game, as I said, is a tower defense game because in it you're going to have a central area of the game, a board that you are going to defend from enemies from all sides. And it's cooperative, which means that as opposed to many games out there where you will compete against other players, in this game you will cooperate with other players trying to achieve a common goal by joining your efforts together. Okay, so you're going to be playing as a team against the game itself. Now this game has a very unusual kind of thematic world in which it is placed. This game is made in such a way that it looks like a B production movie, but not just any B production movie. We're talking about an Asian, Chinese, horror, kung fu B production movie. It sounds extremely weird, and let me tell you it is, but in my world, weird equals good. Okay, so I'm really excited about this game. The story of the game goes like this. It happens somewhere in Asia, I guess China, in a small village. There was this evil sorcerer, Wu Feng is his name, who was defeated a couple of 100 years ago, but his spirit lingers on and it wants to exact his revenge. So what he wants to do is return from the world of the dead and reincarnate once again in a material body and destroy the world of men. In his attempts to do that, since he's a powerful sorcerer, he will send from the other world these evil creatures, various ghosts and wraiths and vampires, zombies, and other evil guys coming from the other side to attack our village. He's searching for his ashes, which are conveniently located in our village. If he gets his hands on those ashes, he will reincarnate and the world will be destroyed by him, so we lose. It is our goal in this game to prevent him from succeeding at that goal. So what we are going to be doing is take on a role of up to 4 Buddhist monks who are also proficient in martial arts. They know kung fu and all that jazz, and they will try to use their abilities to prevent this evil sorcerer from exacting his revenge and destroying our world. So what we're going to be doing is we will move across the village. We will use our special powers. We will use special abilities of those locations in the village. And finally, we will attack ghosts and try to banish them, essentially trying to survive long enough until the main guy comes into play. Then it is our task to defeat him. So we're going to have a little boss fight near the end of the game, if we're lucky to survive that long. And if we defeat him, we win the game. There's a couple of different ways to lose the game, which I will explain during the demonstration of this game. This way or the other, this is the general concept of the game, the general idea. Of course, as always, in the next section of the video, I'm going to try and explain how the game looks, how it works, to give you some sort of general idea about whether you're interested in it or not. So let's do just that. this is what the game looks like. Now, first of all, I'm going to explain to you guys the components and setup, and then I'm going to get into the rules and systems that we are going to use in this game. But before I dive into it, I just want to warn you guys that I do not offer a complete how to play video here. There's a lot going on in this game. First of all, I don't want to confuse you. Second of all, this video would take far too long if I dived into every single detail here. So what I'm trying to do here is just give you a good, solid idea about how the game works, and then help you basically form your own assessment, your own opinion about it. So without much further ado, let's dive into it. This is how the game looks like. The center area here represents the village where the entire story takes place. As you can probably see, this village consists of 9 tiles, okay? These 9 tiles represent 9 locations within the village. Each illustration contains 1 character, as you can probably see, so that the special abilities on these different locations have some sort of thematic justification. This way or the other, each of these locations will have some special ability that you will be able to use from the tactical standpoint throughout the course of the game. But the most important part is that each of these tiles is modular, which means, you see, I can remove this one, right? So it means that they are shuffled at the beginning of each new game, so that the village layout is different every time, which adds an incredible amount of replayability in this game, because each time a different village layout will give you different tactical combinations, different combos, different things to think about, okay? Now, we have our 4 main protagonists here in the center of this board. These are 4 Buddhist monks. They are trained in Kung Fu and other martial arts. As you can probably see, they are holding these swords. They are ready to fight. So each one of us players will choose one of these 4 guys and get their corresponding player boards in the corresponding color. So for example, if I choose to play the green guy, I will take this green player board. If I choose the yellow guy, I will take this board, and so on and so forth. Now, each player board consists of these empty card slots, or maybe it's better for me to explain on this yellow board in front of you. These empty card slots will contain cards. Over the course of the game, these evil creatures will appear, and they will be placed on these boards in these empty card slots, okay? So each card in this deck represents 1 evil creature, a zombie, a wraith, a ghost, a vampire, or a demon, or something like that. For the sake of this demonstration, I will keep calling them ghosts, generally, okay? Each card here represents a ghost, and these ghosts will appear in these empty card slots, attacking our village. So, when all 3 card slots on your personal player board are filled, it means that you are overrun by ghosts, and you, at the beginning of such a turn where all 3 of these are full, you will lose 1 health. Your health is... you keep track of your health by these key tokens. You begin the game with 4. You can lose health by being overrun by ghosts, basically. When you lose all your tokens, you are officially dead. There is a way for your character to be resurrected, but I may be speaking about that a little bit later. So these ghosts are going to appear, and they are going to attack. We are going to attempt to eliminate them from the game, to banish them, essentially. So what we will be, of course, I forgot to explain a couple of more contents. So here we have our attack tokens. They are called Teo tokens, if I'm pronouncing this correctly. These are essentially meant to aid your attack. Over the course of the game, you will be attacking ghosts by rolling these dice, but you can use these tokens to boost your attack. Right? So you will spend these like some sort of currency to boost your attacks. You will begin the game with 1 black token and 1 token of your color. You see that the yellow player has a yellow token. But over the course of the game, you will have ways to gain more of these, and of course lose them by spending them to attack ghosts. And then we have this deck of cards. These are the bad guys. And then we have our dice, which are used to attack. It's these guys here. And we have our curse die, which we will occasionally roll when some of ghosts require us to see whether we're cursed or not. Basically, what you want to roll is this blank die face here, because that's the only way in which something bad will not happen to you. Everything else on this nasty bugger is bad for you, essentially. And then we have these Haunter miniatures. I will explain how those work a little bit later. Now, how do we play this game? What we're going to be doing throughout the game is we're going to be moving across the village, moving across the surface of the village. We're going to be visiting these locations. We're going to use our special powers. We're going to use special powers of the locations themselves. And of course, we're going to try and fight ghosts, banish them, eliminate them from the game as best as we can. So basically, what I may not have told you, and this is very important at this point, is that every monk will have a special power. Okay, so here in this area, you will see that every guy has some sort of special power depicted by these icons. Okay, and on top of it all, every character board has two sides with two different special powers. So you will be using your special powers in a very unique way, because these are completely asymmetric. So depending on which of these monks you're playing, you will be playing a completely different game from other players. Not completely, but your tactical abilities and possibilities will be pretty much different from what other guys can do. So you will be, first of all, you will be moving around. So the first part of your actions will be to move around. You can move one space in any direction, either orthogonally or diagonally, as long as you only move one space. Okay? Only the special power of the red player can circumvent this and move anywhere on the board, but by default you can only move one space. Once you have moved to a new space, you can choose to either use the ability of the location that you're on currently, or to attack the adjacent ghost. But you cannot do both. I repeat, you cannot do both. And this is where most of the difficulty of this game lies, because you will almost always want to do both, to use the ability and to attack, but you cannot. The only special ability that can circumvent this is the ability of the blue player, who can, in one of his versions, that person will be able to do both. But by default, you can either use the ability of the location, or you will attack a ghost. Of course, before you attack, you can use your special ability if it applies. Different special abilities do different things. I'm not going to get in too much detail about that. So that's basically it. How do you attack a ghost? If you choose to attack a ghost as a second part of your action, as your second action actually, how do you attack a ghost? First of all, you need to be adjacent to a ghost. So if I want to attack, let's say this ghost is here. If I want to attack this ghost, I would have to be in this location, because it is adjacent to this ghost. I cannot attack this ghost from here because I'm not adjacent. Okay? That's why corner tiles are strategically more important, because these are adjacent to two ghosts at the same time. So theoretically, I can attack both of them. Let's say that we have a green ghost somewhere around here. Okay, let's say that we have this guy here on the green board. If I'm located here, I can attack both of them. So I can just roll the dice and see which one of these I manage to defeat. If I'm extremely lucky, I can banish both of these ghosts at the same time. Okay? You cannot attack anybody from the center board because you are not adjacent to any of the ghosts. How do you attack a ghost? Essentially, you will roll these dice, okay? And it's pretty intuitive actually, because if I want to defeat a yellow ghost, I will have to roll yellow on these dice. If I want to defeat a green ghost, I will have to roll green, and so on and so forth. We also have the white color, white die face. This is the wild color, which means that it represents all the other colors. It can be regarded as any color. So you really want to roll these white faces, okay? So for example, let's say that I'm in this position and I have two ghosts, one green and one yellow adjacent to me. I will simply roll these dice and see what I can do. So I have one green, and this ghost has 1 hit point. I don't know if you can see this. 1 green hit point, which means that I have managed to eliminate this ghost. It goes out of the game. I have successfully banished it, and that's it. Okay. Now ghosts are as tough as the toughness of a ghost, or the health of a ghost, is equal to the amount of these dots in the upper left corner of the card. Okay, so this ghost has a toughness of 2. This guy only has a toughness of 1. Obviously, the tougher the ghost is, the more of yellow results of my dice I will have to banish that ghost. So for this ghost, I would have to roll 2 yellow dice in order to defeat them. Okay. There are ghosts that have a toughness of 4. Those are extremely difficult to take on because they have a toughness of 4, and we only roll 3 dice, which means that we absolutely need these tokens to add to our attack if we want to defeat tougher ghosts. Okay, once their hit points are equaled or exceeded, the ghost is dead. But the damage has to be dealt in one single attack. There's no such thing as partial damage in this game. Okay, so the ghost is either banished or it remains perfectly healthy. There's nothing in between. Now these ghosts will be drawn as the game goes on. Every player will draw 1 ghost on their turn and put it where it applies. So yellow ghosts will go on yellow boards, green ghosts will go on green ghosts, and so on and so forth. They have different toughness, as I said, and they have different abilities. Abilities of these ghosts are listed here at the bottom of the card. Those effects can be either immediate, or they can happen each turn, or they can happen at the end. When you banish a ghost, that ghost can either curse you, cause you to roll this nasty die here, or the ghost can give you some sort of reward for killing it. They have various abilities, which I'm not going to get into in too much detail, but some of them will curse you, some of them will lock one of your dice, some of them will be impervious to dice, some of them will be will lock your tokens as long as they're in the game. Some of them will be haunters. That's very interesting. This ghost, for example, is a haunter. We can see that by this icon here. When this ghost appears in the game, that ghost will immediately receive one of these miniatures, which will be put on the card like this. Each time the turn of this player begins, if there's any ghosts with these miniatures on them, they will advance forward like this to this position. Then on the next turn, if this ghost is still alive, he will go 1 step further, and then he will haunt the tile which is adjacent to that ghost. This tile is now haunted. It can be visited, but it cannot be used for its special ability. If 3 of such tiles are haunted, you immediately lose the game. That's one way to lose the game. That's why these haunters are very, very nasty, and you have to get rid of them as soon as you can. Okay? So that's one way in which you can lose the game. The other way is to run out of these cards. If you have spent all of these cards and you still haven't beaten the main guy, you again lose the game. And finally, if all 4 of these guys are dead, you again lose the game immediately. So there are 3 different ways to lose the game and only 1 way to win. That's why this game is so tough and difficult to beat. Near the end of the game, 10 cards before the end of this deck, the main guy will appear, and Wu Feng himself. Your final goal is to defeat him. If you manage to do that, you will win. Otherwise, you will lose in these 3 ways that I have just described to you. And that's the rough concept of this game. Of course, I haven't mentioned all the details, but this is generally how this game works and how it feels. And obviously, this is how it looks. So we can now go to the next section of the video where I will tell you exactly what I think about this game. That is the game for you guys. Now you know how it looks. You've seen the main mechanics. As I said in the previous section, I did not I wasn't trying to show you the game in great detail and mention every single smallest detail about the game, because there's a lot going on. But you do have a general idea, and that was the point of this video, to give you a general idea about the game so that you can make your own assessment of the game, so that you can form your own opinion, basically. Now, what do I think about the game? This is a great game from my point of view. Now, I did say at the beginning, in the introduction to this video, that this is a weird game. So I do not expect all of you guys to love this game. First of all, because it has a weird kind of artwork, which is fabulous from my point of view, but it may not appeal to your personal taste. And it also has this super weird B-movie kind of theme, which may not be appealing to a lot of you guys. For me, it's lovely because it's weird. I love weird things. Let me tell you, I really, really love this game. This is one of the oldest games in my collection, and I still didn't get rid of it. That should be some sort of clue to you guys how much I love it, and I really do. So I will tell you why I love it, and I will tell you about a couple of things that may not be perfect about it, so that you have a realistic kind of standpoint from which to assess this game. So let's begin. The main reason why I love this game, and I do love this game very much, is the excitement that I feel when I play it. This game is all about excitement. It's all about the adrenaline. It's all about hanging on to your dear life. Now, some of you guys may not like that. I know for a fact that there are guys who like peaceful Euro games where they can just take their time and think about their movements. Where do I place my workers? You know, how do I spend my resources? Which is cool. I love those games. I love all games, realistically speaking. But I love this kind of game as well. Excitement. So those of you guys who are typical Euro game players who like peaceful, calm, thinky games may not love this because there's too much excitement here. But I love it for that exact same reason. From the very beginning of the game, right off the bat, the adrenaline level rises sky high and it stays there until the very last second of the game. So throughout the entire game, you have this, oh my God, we're all going to die kind of feeling. You know, you are holding on to your dear life, and until the very last second of the game, even if you win, which is very difficult, by the way, but I'm going to speak about the difficulty later. Even if you do win, until the very last second, you were absolutely sure you were going to lose and fail. You know, it's that kind of game. So the anticipation, the nervous anticipation, the adrenaline, the excitement, it's through the roof all the time, okay? And that's what I absolutely love about this game. This is easily one of the most exciting and adrenaline-filled board games that I've ever played. And that's saying a lot. Okay, so that's the first reason why I love this game. Second of all, something I always appreciate about good games, a ton of tactical possibilities. You are playing 4 asymmetrical characters, so you have unique powers. Every single one of you has a very unique power. On top of it all, every player board has 2 sides with 2 different special powers. So there's a lot of combinations there between 4 players if you're playing a 4-player game, which is, by the way, what I absolutely recommend, playing with 4 players. Second of all, you have the village that consists of 9 modular tiles. So each time you shuffle those tiles and lay the village out on the board, it will be different every single time. And since those tiles have special abilities, the layout of the village really matters, and it really influences how you're going to think from the strategic standpoint. So the number of choices and possibilities and the replayability is incredible in this game. I love it. I love the artwork. It's beautiful artwork. I said at the beginning it is weird, so some of you guys may not like it. I adore the artwork because it's funny and scary at the same time. It has a very cool way of being somewhere in the middle between being funny and scary. I love it. The atmosphere of the game, the immersion, the theme, beautiful. This whole freaky B-movie kind of theme is absolutely great from my personal point of view. Again, that's a matter of taste. That's my personal opinion. I mean, the duration of the game, 60 minutes, perfect. Not too long, not too short. I love games that play around an hour. They are very versatile, in my personal opinion. Now, there's a couple of things that are not so perfect. For example, component quality leaves something to be desired. I'm not saying, this is just a minor quibble, mind you. This is not something that this is not a big issue, but I think components could be a little bit better. My copy of the game, when I unpacked the box, when I opened the box, those boards were not cut through they were not cut all the way through. So I had to be extremely careful when I punched those components out because they were chipping and kind of they were frayed at the edges. So I was extremely careful, and even so, I ended up chipping a little bit of a couple of tokens and stuff like that. So it's not ideal. Also, the surface of these cardboard pieces could be better. You know, I mean, I don't know. It feels like when you touch the cardboard, it feels like ordinary paper to a certain extent. I know these are minor quibbles and they're not very important. This game is still great value for the money. Make no mistake about that. Plastic miniatures, again, not very detailed, made of bendy, flimsy kind of plastic. So they're not ideal, but this game is not very expensive. For the price, this game offers huge value. Okay, so these minor quibbles aside, this is a great value for money still. Okay, but it's I just thought you should know about these things. Now, the number of players is the biggest issue from my point of view. Although the rule book offers variants where you can play with less than 4 players and somehow use their abilities even without those monks being in the game, I really think this is a pure 4-player game, okay? So that may be a downside, because if you don't have 4 players, this game will not shine. It really shines with all 4 players in the game. You know, I have found a solution. You know, after a couple of games, everybody has enough experience to play more than one character. So sometimes I played this with only one of my friends, and we both took 2 monks, and the game was still very good. It was perfect, actually. So all 4 monks should be in the game for the optimal gaming experience. That could be a minor issue with the game. And of course, finally, the weird theme and weird artwork may not be everybody's cup of tea, so it may be an issue for some of you guys as well. One more thing, which is not an issue for me, I don't mind, but it may be an issue for some of you guys, is the difficulty of the game. This game is extremely difficult. One of the most difficult games I've ever played, and by far one of, if not the most difficult cooperative game, then at least second to, say, Robinson Crusoe. These 2 games are most difficult cooperative games I've ever played. So this is a difficult game to play. I mean, I don't know many people who own this game, but my personal experience has been that we will typically lose 8 games out of 10, or 7 games out of 10. Okay, so you will lose most of the time. This game will smack you around like crazy. Personally, that's not an issue for me, because I love being presented with a good challenge, with a good, hard, difficult game, because when you win, you feel fabulous. Yes, you lose most of the time. When you do win, you feel like you're the master of the world. But to some of you guys, this may be an issue, because this is a very difficult game to win. You will lose most of the time. And that's it. I could be speaking more about this game, as I always can about good games, but I'm gonna force myself to stop at this point and just say that this is a great, great game. I absolutely recommend it. But since it is a little bit weird and a little bit freaky, I do recommend you take a look at it before you buy. Some of you guys are gonna love it, as I do. Some of you won't. But you don't have to listen to me. In the previous section of the video, you could see how the game worked. So that's it. That's all from me for today. Thank you for watching. You guys are great. Keep viewing, keep liking, keep subscribing. It helps, as always. Until the next time, goodbye.